Over the past 3 episodes, we focused on the background of Isafjordur, covering the environment, history, and economy of the town. But now, it's time to switch it up and talk about fun things to do in Isafjordur. Be you a tourist or native Isafjordur resident, there's always something to see. But Isafjordur is also nothing without its culture. For such a small town, it's overflowing with culture. From traditional festivals to cultural museums, the Isafjordur area can best be described as a cultural hub that's shared with the bordering towns of Þingeyri, Flateyri, Suðureyri, Súðvík, and Bolungarvík, just as Isafjordur was an economic hub for these towns. Isafjordur's magical culture extends even to the workplace. In this episode, we'll dive into what makes Isafjordur such a wonderful town, and without further ado, here's As I've said time and time again, tourism is not the biggest industry of Isafjordur, but that doesn't mean it isn't a huge portion of Isafjordur either. While businesses such as restaurants and cafes are tried and tested places for tourists, the really exciting tours take place outside of Isafjordur. Þingeyri is undoubtedly one of the most popular tourist attractions in the whole of Iceland, holding the record for largest waterfall in Iceland as well. I can't recommend this trip enough, as even though I've spent almost a year of my life in the Westfjords, I'm still amazed at the scale of this waterfall, with its 300-foot high cascade of water. In general, the waterfall takes about 15 minutes to hike up, but the hike is well worth it to see the view from the top and hear the roar of the thunderous water in your ears. Tickets are easily attainable through many tourism websites, so getting there should be no problem at all. Leaving, however, now there's the pickle. Hornstrandir is a large landmass north of the Isafjordur Bay that was turned into a nature preserve around 1975 and has been a safe haven for wildlife ever since. Few areas of the world display nature in this manner. From tall grasses to mountains, Hornstrandir is gorgeous. That said, however, the only way to access that gigantic peninsula is through boat, and once off it, you'll hike through some of the most amazing trails of Iceland, assuming you don't get struck by the birds. On top of the avian dangers, Hornstrandir can be known for its harsh weather, so be sure to dress appropriately as well. The tour can be very expensive, however, and the tours are often limited to just a few people. That said, you can buy tickets online, and you'll be on your way before you know it. Perhaps the most well-known form of tourism in Iceland is whale watching, which, lucky for you, is in abundance in Isafjordur's Bay. Simple tours like these take only about 3 to 4 hours, and are well worth the experience. Even as an Icelandic national, I heavily enjoyed whale watching, and I would definitely recommend it to any potential tourist. Pretty much any self-respecting tourism agency will sell you tickets to a whale watching tour, so they shouldn't be hard to find online. Once on the water, expect to hear about the 20 different species of whales that live in and around the bay, the most common of which are the beaked whale and the humpbacked whale. Fishermen is one of the lead producers of various fish products within the Westfjords, but in combination with their fisheries, they also run a series of bus tours. The most popular, called the Seafood Trail, is a day-long tour of their factory in Suðureyri and a fine dining experience packed with excellent food as well. This is definitely one of the more touristy things to do, but I'd say it can be worth the time. When I was in Isafjordur, I had the opportunity to work a 3-week-long internship with Joyous, and during that time, I got an excellent glimpse into the workplace culture of Isafjordur. While you might expect it to be very Icelandic, it's actually not entirely. The language spoken within the office is usually English, due to the mass distribution of cultures within the workplace. Icelandic is a close second, of course, but interestingly, Polish makes up the 3rd largest culture of Joyous. Polish immigration in Iceland is well known and made up almost 21,000 of the 350,000 strong Icelandic population in 2021, and a good number of Polish immigrants made their way to Joyous, where they now thrive. There are so many of them that a small Catholic church emerged specifically for them. Personally, my mentor while I was there was Italian, and there were people from all over Europe and North America. Another example of the diversity of culture that can be found is when I attended my 3-week-long Icelandic course. What I found was the distribution of nationalities was incredible, with US, Belgian, German, Finnish, and Lithuanian nationalities all present. all within this tiny corner of the world. Work-life balance is an essential part of any career, but it's taken especially seriously in Isafjordur. We'll get to summer houses in just a moment, but let's address some simpler aspects of relaxation for the people of Isafjordur. The best spot for celebrations is undoubtedly Tjórhúsið, which I addressed in a previous video. With unbeatable fish and its wonderful cozy environment, it's the perfect place to relax and dine well after a long day of work, if you have the money of course. At 9,000 krona per person, it's debilitatingly expensive. It's not something you can do frequently, and perhaps that's not the worst thing, as you'll be able to savor the restaurant more. A more affordable option is Edinborg Bistro, also known as Edinborghúsið. This place is an excellent place to relax and decompress, featuring an excellent dining space, pool table, wheel of drinks, and great food to top it all off. Isafjordur exemplifies perfect social harmony. While this might seem impossible, I guarantee you it isn't. Iceland is known by the stereotype of everybody knowing everybody, but that's basically true in Isafjordur. My host family in Isafjordur had a different set of friends over every single weekend. What this means is that when a family is struggling, other residents are there to help whenever possible. If you think about it, Isafjordur kind of embodies a man versus nature theme. On top of this, many Isafjordur residents feel secure enough to not lock their doors, leave their babies outside, and lose track of their kids for hours on end. The reason isn't bad parenting, but rather the fact that there's virtually no crime in Isafjordur, aside from a few teens here and there. Isafjordur's police department, called the Lögreglan, spends most of their time sitting around rather than policing. There's simply no reason to. Part of why I love Isafjordur so much is because of its tranquility. It's simply nothing I can find anywhere else in the world. I guess when you're traveling to the ends of the earth, what can you expect? Isafjordur is in a bit of a pickle when it comes to wintertime. Due to the massive amounts of snow in the winter, to the tune of 12 to 14 feet of snow, and the constant blizzards, Isafjordur is cut off from mainland Iceland. With the roads blocked and airports drenched in snow, the population is left to receive resources only by boat. This has caused the culture of Isafjordur to become interdependent. If you recall, I've said in the past that Isafjordur is the perfect size for all the main enterprises of Iceland, but they're in Isafjordur also to provide essential services and resources when the town is cut off. The shortage of various supplies is overcome, however, through the strong community ready to assist anybody at a moment's notice. Most folklore found in Isafjordur isn't native to the town, but rather comes from mainland Iceland, with the exception of the sea monster. Similar to the Loch Ness monster, the Westfjords sea monster has neither been confirmed nor denied, and today there's actually a museum in the town of Bíldudalur, about a 2-hour drive away from Isafjordur. Part of what I love about Isafjordur and Iceland in general is its obsession with tales and legends. I really think it gives the nation character. And if that doesn't convince you, I'm not sure what will. One of the most adored aspects of Iceland is its sheep. It's not possible to have meat more free range than this. But what happens when all of the sheep need to be collected? In September, farmers from around the country participate in a festival called Hrettir, in which they spend an entire week rounding up every single sheep in Iceland before sorting them by their ear tags and redistributing them to their original farmers. While this might seem tedious at times, Icelandic farmers take great joy in their work, often riding on horseback with their sheepdogs or the occasional ATV. Once the sheep are collected by the farmer, they're kept indoors for the winter to prevent them from dying due to the cold or starving to death. Isafjordur's creative side is exceptionally strong. Part of what inspires creativity in Isafjordur is the beautiful landscapes and the easily reachable nature all around town. But when it comes to presentation, Isafjordur is stocked to the brim with creative representation. Just opposite of Edinborghúsið is a small gallery, which puts on a fantastic display every few months. Another great museum to take a look at is the Museum of Everyday Life, found near Hamraborg. This museum dives into the most mundane aspects of life and gives them meaning through different stories and artifacts. I'd definitely take some time to visit this museum if you have the chance. Finally, look around anywhere in Isafjordur, especially at the grassy square of the library, and you'll find excellent sculptures of many different things. Once winter rolls around, it's normal to be secluded in your home for days on end. So how does one entertain themselves? Well, by skiing. Fossvatnsganga is Iceland's largest cross-country skiing festival, taking place on the fjord tops of Isafjordur before crossing the finish line inside the fjord itself. The competition was started in 1935 and has grown significantly in popularity since then, to the point where it's now internationally certified with best-in-class result certification. Funnily enough, skiing culture has been so integral to Isafjordur culture that the town has produced over 12 Olympic skiers. You'll find that Isafjordur natives will always have skiing equipment, regardless of the skier's age, so the yearly festival is one of the best ways to experience the snow before another 8 to 12 weeks of more snow. Iceland in general has wonderful escapism culture. What this means is that on the average weekend, it's perfectly normal to have a rush of people with their camper trailers fleeing from the city to go and savor the countryside. But in Isafjordur, there's not a ton of flat land to dedicate to campers. But luckily for the residents of the town, there's a great number of summer houses to find on the hills just south of the town. Usually these cabins serve as a home away from home, with full plumbing, wonderful wooden construction, bunk beds, and of course, not an ounce of Wi-Fi. It's perfectly normal for people to just head up there for a single night, or just go out to their cabin for dinner. Such a simple form of escapism that's also right there facilitates a proper work-life balance and really helps the mental health of Isafjordur residents. These cabins also do wonders for putting you in touch with nature. By one cabin, there's a very dense forest, which is very strange already to see in Iceland. And if that wasn't enough, there's a giant waterfall behind it. Summer houses are one of the greatest aspects of Isafjordur and something not to miss. Almost every tourist even thinking of planning a trip to Iceland has heard of the Blue Lagoon. Any Icelandic national will tell you that the Blue Lagoon is a waste of money, and that's because you can get the same thing through any public Icelandic pool. Most likely you'll meet tourists there as well, and you'll really hit it off. What this touches on is the bathing culture of Iceland, in that it's very social and instrumental to the weekly life of any Icelander. While the pool of Isafjordur is kind of meager by Icelandic standards, it's still a good form of exercise and socialization. Ironically, the better pool is located in the smaller town of Bolungarvík, where most Isafjordur residents go to swim, rather than Isafjordur. So this was the fourth and final episode of Isafjordur Adventures. Over the past 2 months of my life, I've worked on this project a little bit each week, balancing editing and recording with my job and my Icelandic language course. I really hope you enjoyed watching my videos, and perhaps you learned something as well. I truly can't recommend Isafjordur enough. It's my destination of choice for any vacation, and it's the perfect environment to decompress from the hectic demands of school and work. These videos will be up until further notice, so feel free to share them with your friends and family, and maybe you'll be roaming the streets of Isafjordur soon. With all that said, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my videos, and it's been a pleasure having you.